Good morning, this is Jack from Charlie Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Monday, the 2nd of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. Right, I read a post yesterday, and one of the things I was talking about was that we've got strongly bullish stats. Possibly it did, but I don't think the bottom's going to last long, but we'll come to it. But we've got strongly bullish stats for today and tomorrow, although strangely fairly bearish stats on Wednesday and Friday, and bullish stats on Thursday. It's one of the unusual weeks where we actually have strong lean every day. But the first 2 days of this week are bullish. And looking through what we saw on Friday, now on Friday morning, I was talking about this head and shoulders, which had broken down, and the head and shoulders broke down, went down to what was then the weekly pivot, and then failed where they moved back up over the right shoulder. And we had exactly the same setup on NQ, and pretty much exactly the same thing happened. Both of these fails are suggesting that we're going to see a move up to see a retest of the high, which would fit with the bullish stats that we've got at the moment. RTY, I didn't mark it in, but I was just noticing as I was doing all the notes for the charts, we've actually got a head and shoulders here, which is breaking down. The neckline is here. So this one here would need to fail too. I think it's probably going to, but you can see, looking at it, hang on, bear with me a moment, I'll just draw in the lines. We've got, that's the neckline. And it's not a bad looking little one, actually. I missed it on the first run round this morning, but I noticed it when I was doing the notes for the email. But here we've got, wait a second. Now this is actually pretty similar in a lot of respects to the ones we had on ES and NQ, and I think the same things are likely to happen. We've broken down. That's got a target getting close to a retest of this low, and I'm expecting it to fail. To fail, basically, RTY just needs to break back over the pivot. The weekly pivot, so we shall see. Do we have a buy signal brewing here? No, I went over the 50 area, so I didn't get it on the first time, and I don't think there's one on the second time either. Okay, RTY, we're holding the monthly pivot at the moment. Obviously, all new monthly pivots, all new weekly pivots. And if you want the pivots, have a look at yesterday's email because they're all there. All right, great. So looking at DAX and STX, not a great deal happening. Possible level tops on top on DAX, as we've got obviously still on NQ and on ES, but not importantly on SPX. But I'm leaning towards the upside here. Let's have a quick look at the other charts on this. Could we be forming an IHS here on ES? Yes, but it would be ugly. The one on NQ would be prettier, but still, no, that would be prettier. That wouldn't be a bad one, but I'm leaning against that. But I think we've still got quite a long, strong lean. We need to get back over the weekly pivots, but we've got strong lean to head back directly and retest this high from here on this pattern setup. So we shall see how that goes. All right, looking at the bigger picture, I was looking at SPX yesterday, and I was considering the case for doing an ABC here, which would be ABC. I don't think so, because while I would love to see this go a little lower and particularly hit this trend line here, because we're not far away from a series of places where I'd have a better shot at patterns forming here. We haven't got back up into this rising support, but I could, the next high may well give me patterns anyway. But what I would say is on the SPX chart, we've got, we had basically actually it's better if we look at this one. Okay, we had a gap up, which took us over the 200 DMA. Now that is a breakaway gap of a kind which would often hold until the end of the subsequent move. And we came and back tested the 200 DMA and it held. And also we've got the daily middle band here, which tends to be strong main uptrend support. I'm not seeing a strong case for getting down into this area here. So I'm leaning against that. It's still possible, but we will see how it goes. All right, looking at the Qs. Again, we didn't quite make it back to the daily middle band, but that looks like support. On Dire, it's definitely support. We had an aggressive test of the daily middle band and it held, and we came back and tested that again on Friday. In the first instance, I'm leaning towards these holding. and I think there's a pretty good chance they will. Here on IWM, this is a very interesting one because this actually could change the course of what I'm thinking over the next few months, because getting to a retest of the all-time highs on SPX and the Qs are pretty easy. We've got a much longer distance to cover if we're going to do that on Dia or on IWM, and this is a potential IHS to take us back up into a retest of the all-time high on IWM, and well, that's got me wondering. This could deliver other things, like for instance, it could deliver a retest of the high on Nikkei at 42.4, and it's oversized, but we've got a potential inverted head and shoulders forming here too. On DAX, I don't. I've got a potential level top here, and we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and actually a possible, sorry, I haven't marked it in, I'm going to do that quickly now, and we've got a possible RSI 14, only a weak one. All right, we got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing here. So quite a bit of negative divergence here, but it's almost alone. We really haven't got much indicating we go down here, and the historical stats are pointing quite firmly up. So until demonstrated otherwise, I'm going with those. All right, let's have a look at the DX chart. Now, DX, we've come back and retested the low here. I'm leaning towards making this open head and shoulder target in the 98.4 area, and I'm wondering about a retest this low here in about the 97.65 area. Looking at ZB, this very, very, very much looks like a bear flag. So it could alternatively be an IHS forming, but what it really looks like is a bear flag. So watching this with interest. If we see a sustained break, if we see a breaking conversion of the monthly pivot here, I would flip over to the IHS scenario, where the IHS neckline would actually be here. And that's not a bad one, but I think the bear flag scenario is a better one. But if we were to see that, then we'd be seeing a decent rally, which could take us up into about the 116.08 area, I think, maybe a little higher. But in the absence of that, I think this is likely to break down and take us back to the lows. Looking at ZN, we've got a possible double bottom here, which is already breaking up, and this would be a match with that possible IHS scenario on ZB. So watching that carefully, but in the short term, I'm expecting this to fail, but obviously it might not. Looking at CL, CL, we actually had this lovely head and shoulders here, and it broke down and it's failed. It's gone back over the right shoulder high. We're going back into a retest of this high. I'm wondering about a rejection back up, and maybe that's going to get us through this trend line here in the 64.15 to 64.2 area. We will see, but I'm taking off this arrow here. It was a really nice setup, very obvious target, but it's just not worked out. So we shall see. HO, we got a possible overall bear flag forming too. RBOB, we saw a breakdown, but if we were to get back to this trend line here, then that would just be an expansion of the wedge. So I'd just draw in a new support trend line over to here. Looking at NG, we had a little double top breakdown with a target 4.15 area. We almost made it, but not quite, 3.415. And that looks as though it's rejecting back up into the high. So energy's had a real boost this morning. GC, we are starting to break up from the bull flag, which is great. This has got a target at a retest this high on, on the main charts, that would be in the 3,500 area. On SI, we've had, seen a breakup, obviously, a few days ago from this this falling wedge bull flag, and I think we're probably going to head back directly from here and retest this high here just over 34. Palladium, we've got a nice looking double bottom here, which is broken up with a target in the 1015 area, and again, not seeing anything to suggest that isn't going to make a target. On platinum, we'd seen a breakdown. This had been the strongest to the upside, of course. I've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing, and we're trying to hold support at the monthly pivot at the moment. HG, the buy signal made target and then some. We've not quite made the bull flag target, which I've got up here at about the 4.98 area. We've made it up to 4.95, and I think it'll probably do the other 0.03. Okay, looking at USD, I've got, we had a weak sell signal that's failed. I've got an obvious trend line resistance here. I'm just under 1.15. On GBP USD, nothing compelling to say really. USD/JPY, we had a head and shoulders that broke down and failed, and we had an IHS that broke down and failed. Well, a comment yesterday was that's likely we are forming a large pattern which is not yet clear. I've put in a guess at what that pattern might be, and this is a potential channel. If so, then this is going to be heading back into the 141.20 area. Although, having said that, I mean, we've got a big crisis in Japan at the moment. It looks like the yen's going down, but remember, the yen is not going down on this chart. The yen is going up. It's US dollar that's going down against the yen. So this is a little unexpected, but we will see. All right, USD CAD, we've retested the low, possible double bottom here, no current positive divergence, no particular reason to think it's a double bottom. Australian dollar, we had a buy signal that made target, NZ, buy signal that made target, almost retesting these highs. KC, almost made it to the wedge support, which I've got very slightly below. I've got that in about the 337 area, I think. But I'd quite like to see a touch of that and a reversal back up to resistance. Looking at SB. SB, we've broken up over the declining resistance. This is a potential level bottom. And I've got to say, having been looking at the daily chart more, I've found an interesting looking bullish pattern, which I'm actually liking. So I think we might be making a significant low here. So I'm watching this to the upside. Next obvious target is to break and convert the monthly pivot to support. CC, we've broken up here on a buy signal. That's made target. We're failing so far at the monthly pivot. If it continues to fail, the head and shoulders has not been validated. We need to get over the right shoulder here, and I've got a target in the 76.25 area. Looking at cotton. Cotton, we got a potential level bottom here. Quite liking the upside on this. We will see. Lumber, 60-minute buy signal fixed. Not really been impressing anyone with the moves lately. But I think bigger picture, I think this this buy signal plays out, and then we likely continue heading down and retest this low. ZW, nice move up this morning, and this could still be an IHS, and it wouldn't be an awful one. On corn, potential little level bottom here, 60-minute buy signal is fixed. Needs to break and convert the weekly pivot to look for a target, which would be in about the 457 area. Soy, this could be a bullish underthrow as it went back and retested this low. This could, of course, be an overall topping pattern forming, but we'll see. 60-minute buy signal fixed on soybean oil. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed and potential bottoming action here, although nothing very specific. On live cattle, still leaning towards ABC and seeing a lower low here. On lean hogs, we've got a potential level top now that we've gone back and retested the high as expected. All right, great. Let's have a quick look at questions. Yeah, much depends on Trump's taco on lots of things. But I think the energy bigger picture, I think the trend is down at the moment. But I've got to say, CL and NG had an impressive rally today. They could be moving the needle on it, but we will see. All right, for today, the stats are bullish today and tomorrow. First day of the month in June is reliably bullish. And we've got a setup here where the head and shoulders on ES and NQ broke down and failed on Friday, suggesting that we're going to go back up and retest these highs. Do we still have a potential double top on ES? Yes, but we don't have one on SPX. We do have one on both NQ and the Qs. But the setup to go down is weak, and there's good reasons to think that we won't. And really, we're fighting the historical stats this week. So my lean is up towards at least a retest this high, and then very possibly continuation higher. We shall see. All right, brilliant. In that case, I will catch you guys tomorrow, and everyone take care.